Welcome to Dear Alice, a lifestyle approach to interior design.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to Dear Alice. Today we are doing our market recap podcast. I feel like we went and we came back and we had so many deadlines we were trying to hit. We almost forgot. And then you received so many DMs.
Just people wanting to know, like, what were you seeing at market? You know, because we didn't go in the spring because we did another inspo trip. And then we were like, no, fall is the time to go hit up market. Like we figured out, like, if we're going to go to one market of the two, spring and fall, we're going to go to fall. It's like fashion week. So anyway, so we're like, we need to like do a recap. We have to tell the people what we saw and what was impressionable for us. And everyone's going to see different things, I think, you know, like, because their eyes are conditioned to see what they love, right?
Or what project they're working on.
This industry, right?
Yeah, they might be looking for a special client. I know we had a particular client or two that was like really hot in our mind for interesting problems to solve. But also we go to market now too, just to sort of understand the industry, because we are creating our own product now. And we want to create things that don't already exist. And so we kind of zag where others are zigging, and we kind of want to just put our finger on the pulse, which is really fun to see. And it's just like there's something for everybody there. So it's hard to know exactly how to zag sometimes, but always inspirational, which I also think is a big reason to go. Besides seeing what's new and next, is just to feel like our cup is full, and we get to go and be the clients this time. Yeah, which is so fun.
The relationships are so good. We love just all the people we've become really good friends with over the years. And anyway, it's just like a big high school reunion. Designers talking about
interior design.
Yeah, I will say this. We went to an event this like last week with like, it was a book launch for a designer here locally. And we were around a table, like this massive long table with like all sorts of designers through like in Utah. And, you know, ones that we like knew, ones that we didn't know, but we're like at this table. These are the only people that know how hard our job is. It's a taxing job where you have to be expert kind of minutely in everything, you know? And so it's really fun to be around other designers too. If you're listening, and I think that's too, there's some camaraderie there. It's just like being around this other people, whether you're designers or like customers, people that are just, they love this world,
the industry. And
as hard or tricky as like situations can be, there's nothing else that any of us would want to do because we love it so much. It's so darn inspiring, and it's such a fun industry. So market is that. It's just like a celebration of new things, artists, everything.
Extraordinary craftsmanship. Yeah.
Fantastic.
My favorite thing about traveling, so before we get into all the topic, which I'm super excited, the thing I get excited about when I travel is like, I know that there's something crazy is going to happen on this like trip, and it's going to be a good story. I love stories. You know that about me.
Story time with Corey. My favorite.
Yeah. So I just wanted to get, is there something crazy that happened on this, when you guys are traveling to market, or your favorite crazy travel story?
Mercury was in retrograde this market. It was a weird market.
Oh my gosh. Soon I don't know much about the horoscope, the stars. What do they call that?
Astrology?
The cosmos.
The cosmos, yeah.
We don't know much about it, but we love it when people do. And so I was like, Sue, something is full tilt right now. Like, who do we know that knows about the stars? Because I want to know what's happening, because something is wacky.
People, I'm like, what's
all caps wacky? Yeah, for sure. So go ahead with your crazy story.
No, I don't know. Like, as far as like from this market.
Yeah.
There was a lot of crazy. I don't know where to start. I'm going to have you go first. I'm gonna wrap my head around that question for a second.
Yes. So crazy story for me is we love to so if we fly into Charlotte before we go to North Carolina, High Point is in High Point. Charlotte's
in North Carolina too.
Oh my gosh. Put a lid on me.
It's the end of the day.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So High Point is in North Carolina. And what we understand is that the furniture industry takes place there because they used to chop down the trees from the forest, float them down the river, pull them up on the banks, and make furniture. And they still have classes, from what I understand, on furniture design and whatnot in the South, because that is traditionally where furniture is built. And so ever since like 1909, there's been a furniture show that's been happening in the same little downtown, High Point, North Carolina. And then big buildings have gone up and around it. Well, we've flown into all different airports over the years. And what we finally figured out in the last 5 years is that you don't fly into High Point. You fly into Charlotte and then drive 45 minutes into High Point. There's also more services, more places to eat. It gets crazy expensive to fly into High Point during market.
Less layovers. And
you have a layover in Atlanta or somewhere, and this is a direct flight. So it's just a win-win all the way around. Another win that Sue and I figured out about 3 or 4 markets ago is there's this great little vintage shop in Charlotte.
in Charlotte
called Hong Kong.
Yeah.
We don't know why it's called Hong Kong, but it's open by appointment only. So I always call the lady that owns it, and she always makes an appointment for us, and we always go on our way home. We always fly out a later flight, usually at 6 p.m, and we get up early. We do everything we need to. We hit some stores that we love, and then we get out on our flight and go home. So Sue looks amazing in everything from Hong Kong. This is her shop.
My shop. And it is like the size of a closet. It is not big, but boy, does it deliver.
We legitimately look at every single item in Hong Kong because we really love her taste. She does a great job curating. Price points are so fair, and her taste is just fun and quirky.
I got a lot of questions we had a holiday party recently, and Jess pulled this like satin quilted skirt out from the racks. What I wore to the holiday party.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Guys.
Yes.
I had so many people ask talk to me about the skirt. And I'm
this skirt is from Hong Kong.
It's from Hong Kong.
All the way
store.
Down. Yes. All the way, and it went all the way down to her shoes, which made Sue look like she was 6 feet tall. Her 5'4" frame, 6 feet tall. And it was like this quilted, shiny polyester, something fabulous, kind
70s.
of coral and green, and it was magical.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was very acidic, I'd say, in color. Yeah.
But it was just like everything. Anyway,
Gosh.
Hong Kong.
I could dress Sue all day long in Hong Kong. I'm like, put this on, go in there, get this back on.
It's really fun.
It's just
Find a friendly Jeff.
so fun.
Fun.
So anyway, we're all stoked. We're high on life. We're finally at the end of market. We go to Hong Kong. I am finding all this great jewelry. I try on every pair of earrings. I'm loving it. Sue's in the dressing room. I'm bossing her around. She's getting all these great things. We're stoked. We get in the car. We're heading to the airport. We have to get gas for the car because, you have to leave with a full tank, and we have to hurry and throw away all the garbage. So I, in my mind, had a garbage bag that I was sort of putting everything in, and I would just throw away the bag when we got to the gas station, which was a brown paper bag. I'd already thrown it away after lunch. I didn't realize this. She hands me my jewelry in boxes and everything that she puts in a brown paper bag from Hong Kong. You know where the story's going. I throw away all of my brand new purchases from Hong Kong at the gas station in one of the garbages outside at the gas pump.
Irreplaceable too, because
it's all vintage. Yeah.
And they were really cool.
Oh,
You have this like beautiful,
so
like,
excited.
little pin.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So I throw away all my jewelries, and then we go and we get on the flight, and we're taxiing for takeoff. And I'm like, oh, I want to put that brass strawberry pin that I bought on my coat. I'm going to just put it on right now while we're taxiing for takeoff, which is when I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm digging through my little, my like leather tote. I'm like, I don't have the brown bag.
She's like instantly sick to your stomach.
I saw myself in my mind putting the brown bag in the garbage at the gas station. And I was like, oh my gosh. So McKinley goes, I remember the name of the gas station and where it's at. I'm going to call them. I'm like, well, you can't call them. We're in takeoff. Like, I swear at that point, the hind wheels were on, were on the runway.
We were
nose up in the,
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so she starts talking to Jerome at QT, Quick Trip. Yeah. Quick Trip, I think is what the gas station was in North Carolina. And she starts talking to him. And then Sue's like, give me the phone. I'll describe it. So Suze takes the phone and she's describing. And then she's like, oh, here, talk to Jess because I'm the one that threw the stuff away. And he's like, well, which garbage? And I picture in my mind, there's 12 pumps. There's 12 garbages. And I'm like, probably like the third or fourth one from the left. And he's like, which left? And I'm like, I don't know, northeast or south. There's no mountains in North Carolina for me to situate myself. And so I'm like, I don't know. If you're facing the store, then it's left. And it's the third or fourth pump. And I put a big brown bag in the garbage. Everything inside is brand new in little boxes. It's jewelry. There's a purse. I'm describing everything. And he's like, we took the garbages out at 4. It's 6 o'clock right now. And I was like, okay. And in my mind, I had already lost it. And these two idiots that I'm sitting next to think that suddenly he's going to go through every garbage at the gas station, right?
I honestly felt it in my core. I'm just like, we're going to find it.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Especially because like you had the thought to do that like before you're in the air. Like it was like.
It was a weird market and a lot of weird stuff, like good and bad happened. And I'm just like, this is ending on a good note, y'all. Like we're going to get
Sue's had so much conviction that I was starting.
Like, we're going to get it.
I was starting to pull my own head out of the trash that I wasn't going to get these things. Also, you know, it's vintage. So it's not like it's irreplaceable and that they are not going to exist anymore. But I didn't spend thousands of dollars. I spent $200 on a lot of earrings and a little purse. So
no one loves throwing $200 away though.
Nobody does. Nobody does. But you know, it's like $25 for this pair of earrings, and you did feel like you won.
Yeah, you're winning.
So anyway, Jerome and I are talking, and he's like, "Okay, I'll go out and look anyway. I think the garbage has already been taken out. Okay, here's what you're looking for: a brand new brown bag." It's just like set down in. I didn't crumple it up because there's a lot of stuff in it that you're going to find in there a little. And I'm explaining all these things in detail. And we're taking off and it's spotty. And the stewardess is coming down the aisle. I have to drop the phone in my lap and put my coat over it because I'm like, the air marshal's going to arrest me because I've seen Bridesmaids. I know what happens. They're going to stick me in a little place in the back of the plane for talking on the phone during takeoff. So Sue hurries up and she like gets in front of me. I'm leaning down flat on my lap, talking down at my feet with the phone near my ear, trying to describe what's happening. And then I get the idea to say to Jerome, I'm going to text my husband and have him call you. And if you happen to find it, he will Venmo you to be able to mail these things back to me. It's the only thing I can think of because we're like airborne. And I'm like, Jerome's also telling me.
I'm surprised you still had cell service too.
Also, Jerome's telling me he's going to get off. Jerome's going to get off from his job in 1 hour, and then Tyson's going to come in and work. So what you're going to do is you're going to call Tyson and you're going to ask him to find, I'm like, this can't happen, right? So I'm like, Jerome, I'm going to have my husband call you. I'm going to text him your number and I'm going to have you guys finish this conversation. I'm going to text him and tell him what's going on because I can't be on the phone anymore. Guys, somehow Jerome, out of the goodness of his heart, finds my jewelry in the brown bag, brings it inside the QT.
In the QT trash can.
Yes, puts it in the QT kitchen, waits for Adam Bennett to call him. Adam's like, let me please Venmo you let me know however much it costs to ship this. He's like, no, absolutely not. I'm going to just do this for you. And I was like, no, really, it's no problem. I'm happy to pay for it. No, he really wants to just do it. He's so nice. He ships me back all my stuff.
That's amazing.
Will not let us pay. Like totally did such a kindness. Cannot believe this was on the sheer will of Suzanne Hall, knowing that this is going to show up again. But it all happened. That was the craziest thing. Now, I want to say other crazy things happen at market, but that was like such a high to end on that we were somehow able to do that.
All things were well in the world. And you're like,
you could have,
humans are good.
Yeah.
People are good. Yeah.
And it's just like such a, I don't know, it's such a treat to just like interact with.
Yeah. Jerome, if you're out there, you're the greatest. Thank you so much. That was so fun.
You could have never guessed that would have happened.
No.
You know what I mean? That's why I love traveling.
And I wore my new purse when you were wearing your new skirt at the holiday party and my new earrings. Yeah, it's been so much fun. Anyway, if you guys are ever in Charlotte, go look up Hong Kong. It's by appointment only, but it's a blast. And we love it. Yeah. Suze's sweater today, if you're watching on YouTube, is from Hong Kong. And your earrings?
These were from 214 Vintage.
Oh, yeah.
Modern, whatever.
That's our other favorite vintage place is 214 Modern. And I understand they opened a new one in High Point called 313.
Something like that. There's 2 of them now. But yeah, they like this gal with one of the vendors. She like brings in like vintage things like Chanel purses and like just all like the best of the best luxury. And she has scarves, everything. But then she also brings in just like new and upcoming like designers and things. And these were like from this like new French designer. And they're just like
like resin.
Coolest. They're resin. They're lightweight, but there's the coolest shapes and colors, and just like I don't know, just this opaque.
So fun
moment. I just love them. So
good.
Anyway, so we always get ourselves like a little market sussy. So these were some of my market sussies.
Yes.
And anyway,
yeah, let's get into it.
Because you're in a mood and you're feeling bold and you're seeing really fun things, and so you just like want to dress yourself.
Yeah, you do. You feel inspired. Yeah. Like you've got wind in your sails. It's so fun.
Make a statement.
Yeah. So styles we saw So much like Fashion Week, they are showing you what's up and coming for next year. So this is what we are seeing that will be available spring, summer for 25. And these things will be available for us to start ordering then. The fabrics, every line comes out with new fabrics to be able to dress your upholstery in. They sometimes come up with new finishes to paint your case goods in, and new styles through different designers and different lines. So it's really a Fashion Week experience. And we're going to just share with you a couple things that stood out to us as themes. So those of you that are in design, maybe you're seeing this too, or those of you that just love design, it's always good for you to know like what's new, what's next. Oh, maybe I'll recycle that thing downstairs that I just should have reupholstered, or oh my gosh, I had no idea that was coming again. So anyway, here's what we were drawn to at High Point.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we saw in a big way, because other market recaps we've done were like, we saw green, we saw yellow, we saw all these things, which I don't know if there was like necessarily like one solid tone that we saw an excess of. I think certain showrooms hued in on what they were feeling. But I think across the board, we saw like traditionalism. We saw, I think, more like slip covers than we've seen in a long time, skirted details, dressmaker details, and just like more color and more pattern in general. I think people were just like coming out to play. And across the board, would you agree?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. More color for sure.
Yeah.
Also, like Sue cued into this, lots and lots of dressmaker details on the upholstery. We were seeing lines doing slip covers again. We were seeing box pleats on beds, on skirted ottomans, on chairs. These traditional details that haven't been around for a minute. Go ahead. Let's hold up some pictures. Yeah.
So this was in Hickory Chair, and again, they're a fine furniture maker. And this is, again, they're really, really good at having like those traditional lines. They've had them forever. And I just felt like we saw like a resurgence of this. This is like this kind of floating pink ottoman. They had a lot of pink and crimson and like that pair together. Like this has some like seafoam greens.
Let me first say, Suzanne Kassler came up with a new introduction from Hickory Chair this time. This is for spring. Suzanne is like quintessential pink. So this was in her showroom, and you can see this sort of oval shaped ottoman. For those of you not watching on YouTube, it has a raised portion in the middle where you could rest your back against it. It almost looks like a ring holder, you know?
Yeah. And like, I can see this like in like a boutique like store or something.
Or like a woman's large closet. Yes. It could be floating in the middle where you could pull your boots on or pull your denim on. Or I think in a little girl's room, it'd be really sweet. Oh, a grand living room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love too that she had it in this, and she also had it in a half too, so you can like put it at the end of a bed, which was really, really cute. But the skirted details I think are really nice because, again, when you think of Nancy Meyers, there's probably not one that doesn't include a skirted frame somewhere in that mix because it just takes the edge off. There you get I think Jess is the first person I heard quote this, like if you get too many legs in a room, it makes it nervous. And so you do need to have some like solid like moments, whether it's like a plinth base or a skirt floating all the way to the ground. It just, I don't know, it alleviates the nervousness of a space. And so we saw a lot of skirted details. We saw a lot of just like tapes and gimps and garlands and fringes and just all the traditional things that you think about when you think of like traditional English interiors, when you think about, you know, just like your grandma's house, truly. We saw a lot of tufting.
Tufting, guys. Did you hear that? I'm going to say it one more time. Tufting.
Tufting.
I in some way was like, is this too soon? But this is traditional at its core, is tufting. This is the diamond tuft. And it's really handsome and traditional.
And I think you can tell like a good tuft from a bad tuft, though.
Yeah, these are the greatest tufts of all time. Yeah.
Do you think it's done in a different way than, because I mean, I feel like tufting like 2012, 13, like.
This is that tuft again.
Yeah.
There's a tailoring to it. Like these, again, this one that Jess is holding, this is from one of the vintage stores that actually same one I got the earrings. And this was like almost like a micro tuft, and it was so tight and tailored that it didn't look like overly stuffy, you know, that like, you know what I mean? Like you're familiar with like the Chesterfield sofa, which is like all back, the arms, the back. It's a very lounge looking, you know, sofa for like a pub, you know, type country club look. But I would say just like the tailoring of the tuft is important. So whether you're a diamond, I liked how small and tight this one was. There was a tailoredness to it versus it being like a chubby tuft. We also love like a biscuit tuft, and we did see that. And a biscuit tuft is when it's like a stacked tuft. It's not diamond. It's just like on top of each other. And I love a biscuit tuft also.
Yeah, that's great. I was looking for more skirted pieces. If you guys are listening,
More
this
traditional.
isn't. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
So this is a skirted slipper chair, and then you can see, if you're watching, there's a bolster, and they've done sort of a negative cavity to hold the bolster. Yeah, routed out. And you've got welts that chase all of the shapes of this. So the end of the bolster is welted. You've got the whole boxed cushion of the slipper chair that's also welted.
Contrast trim.
Yeah.
It's really, really beautiful.
Skirted with a box pleat.
I will say, yeah, even on these skirted details, the detailing of all this, I think with good traditional furniture, you do like the detailing matters, you know, like how the flow matching of the patterns from like cushion to seat to all those things matters. I think that this is like almost like a little bit of a modern interpretation of like the routed out of this. So it's a traditional frame. It's
you really
slipper
see
cover.
the shapes.
You see the shape of it, and
calls them
therefore
out.
you know that the furniture maker was good, because that's not an easy thing to do.
Also, that sofa is skirted in the background.
The sofa's skirted. Honestly, every showroom had skirted silhouettes.
Yeah.
Like across the board.
Even the most affordable vendor that we offer, which is Row, they are known for their slip covers. I think they started with slip covers, and they had a lot of slipped things. We have tried to sell slip covers in Utah, and nobody gets it. We've put them on the floor, and they're like, what is happening here?
Which is strange to me because
You'd be able to wash it if you have kids or whatnot. I think they think it's a coastal thing. So I don't know.
Southern.
I don't know if it's a territory thing. I don't know why we can't do it here in Utah. We tried. We believe in it. We love it.
Yeah.
I'll put it on the floor, and it will end up in a warehouse sale.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I love the look. It's very Nancy Meyers, very romantic.
I'm going to say, we just showed that routed out detail of the bolster. This was actually from a vintage store, like an antique store. And I thought that this was interesting that we saw this again, that routed out seat cushion down at the bottom. And that was a vintage frame, probably like from the 50s, 60s. And just, again, that the detailing matters like on these frames. And I think that was paid extra close attention to.
Yeah.
So even because sometimes with a slip cover, you can like feel like it looks sloppy or slouchy. But I think on a lot of these ones that are like upholstered, then skirted, they have to be tailored, and they have to be tailored well. So, sorry, we have so many good things. I think another thing that we saw a lot of is just like, in addition to just the straight like skirted details and things, is just like classical frames, French frames, interpretations of that. This is a medallion back that was part of Suzanne Kasser's line. Again, you can see the color. So we'll talk about frames and some of the colors that we saw. She had this amazing, it was almost like a silk. The wall covering was like this
Philip Jeffries pink silk grass
It
covering.
was beautiful. And then she had like this really dark, rich colored, like this brown Merlot. There we go.
Another shot of the wall.
Yeah. And that whole color scene, again, it's kind of harkens back a little bit to the color drenching of just like having these like tones of each other from like deepest to lightest within a space, and how those affect. And it felt really good.
Yeah.
Hers was probably one of my favorite as far as like the strongest scenes that we saw at market.
I agree.
She
I
did a really
feel
fantastic
something in
job.
pink. I was just listening to a data point on pink, and they've been saying it's been slowly decreasing in popularity since the Barbie movie. Barbie was the height of pink,
Interesting.
and then they've slowly seen it go down. It's still like, 123%, but it was like 180% people were using pink or something. So I think her scenes just feel so blushing for spring. And it's just so Suzanne when I think of her scenes. They're feminine and beautiful and rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a good balance too of like, you can even see this is another little clip from one of her scenes, but you feel like the femininity of the roses that she has on the cocktail table, and you see some of these like pink silks and things happening, but then you see like some straight lines also that are like juxtaposing that, which is why I think it feels so good. Like whoever you are, gender, whatever, that this feels like a really good balanced scene. And even with the traditional, I think with the traditional of the skirted, with the frames, all those things, you're also seeing some iconic looking pieces, that just feel like an art history piece.
Also looks designer.
Looks designer.
Yeah.
And when you put them all together,
Doesn't feel
it's
ordinary,
not necessarily
or like
from the same
grandma's
period,
house. Yeah.
but they're all interesting in their own right, and they belong together. and they feel really, really good to each other.
I love the strength of this slip covered piece.
This so much.
This it almost feels like a more modern chair, definitely a traditional treatment to it.
I can't on the arm.
Oof, right? The whole silhouette just pops off. We're in a dark slip cover on a desk chair. Those of you that can't see this, and you really take away all the lines of the chair and you just focus fully on a silhouette when it's slip covered. And this piece is so fantastic. With the desk, this is in Tara Shaw for Century. She was a new designer for them. And it's at a desk and it's just really classical. It looks fantastic.
This is, again, another one of our favorite like portions as far as like really deliberately designed by a designer for their showroom. And she's a designer out of New Orleans, I believe. And she would just get like truckloads of like antiques and things from Europe. And so a lot of these are kind of like not reproductions, but anyway, interpretations off of those antiques. Mm-hmm. And so, and what's interesting, and I appreciate that she did this, is that she had her whole showroom was a little bit more neutral so you could focus on the frame. Is what I imagine her thought process was. So you could really feel the moldings and then interpret it in your own way if you wanted to do it in a color. Mm-hmm. But just like really cool. Okay, so back to traditional design being trending, if you will, whatever. I think it's just like this idea of just having heirloom quality pieces and having something that feels one of a kind. Just like while we go to Hong Kong or, get vintage jewelry and clothes and stuff, it's just to feel special and to feel individual and have a personal touch. And I think a traditional spin, whatever period you love, like putting that in your house can give you a real, I think, editor's eye and a space to say like, that's my favorite period. I love Louis the 16th or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So yeah, saw a lot of this. Like we've seen fluting for a while, but I like that everyone had this kind of like very classical
reed.
Yeah, almost. This micro reed, but I don't know. I felt like it was a new interpretation of it. That was like really clean, really classical. We saw that there. Then we also saw on this lamp too that I thought was really, really impressive. Hold, please. Hold. JKJ. There we go. Anyway, kind of like reminiscent of that console.
This is visual comfort.
Mm-hmm. And just when you thought you couldn't be more sick of like reading any reading details, like I saw this and I'm like, it's classical. It feels so good.
Does it feels like a column from art history? Yeah,
exactly.
It's great.
Exactly. What else did we see as far as frames go? We have this massive pile.
Still traditional, but traditional with an update where you're going to get color, thrown at it. This is another great vintage piece where it's color. I've seen quite a bit of this idea and I always pin this. So sorry, what we're looking at right now is a vintage piece of art. It's all one color. The entire canvas, but there's texture to it. And depth with all the layers of the same color. And then they'll do these gold 18th century frames. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
And I learned a term that I loved for those frames. They're doing like modern art in these sort of 18th century frames or early 19th century. And they call it lemon gilding. Good. And I just was like, I need to do a search on Etsy for all the lemon gilded frames and just collect them because it makes your art look so expensive. Mm-hmm. If you gain nothing today from this podcast, but to take that and to run with a search, because that's what they're doing. They're finding all of these classic gilded frames and they're putting modern art in it. And that is just an absolute Arc Digest or First Dibs trick. And it sells out at First Dibs, not First Dibs, excuse me, at 2 and 4 Modern, which it feels like First Dibs in person. Yeah. And it's just this combination. I mean, this isn't the best example of that. We didn't probably print off the eggs in that lemon gilded frame. Yeah.
I do love that.
Yeah.
We should put it on there anyway. Mm-hmm. I'll say just in the matter of color, what we were drawn to, I think this was from our
This was the scene, I feel like.
This so much.
Yeah. This is Hickory Chair. Susan Habel, is a designer for Hickory Chair, through Hickory Chair, her own line. And this was one of their scenes that they did. She's a fine artist and has a gallery in Georgia. And her scenes are just, they're breathtaking, always really artsy. One of the best-selling collections at Hickory Chair. And this moment with this plum, what color are you going to call this sectional? It's like a linen, light lavender.
Yeah, like a warm amethyst or something.
Paired with a red piece of dimensional art.
Yeah, it's kind of like the red shoe, the red lip, just like that pop of red. Wasn't there like a whole like thing on TikTok of just like
There's
that,
there's
dose
wrong
of red
wrong
that
shoe
everybody
theory
needs.
and the dose of red. Yeah. Kind of that French girl thing too that we talked about earlier in the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like I was just like quick into that red, and so like I just kept finding like where is the red and where are moments to like add it, and just like it's a really like intentional on purpose color that's not muddy, that's very, very like.
Also, I want to say, like, for designing for oneself, this makes a lot of sense for Sue Hall because she wears a red lip.
Yeah.
It's part of your ethos.
Yeah.
It's part of your design style.
Yeah.
You know, if you have that pair of red shoes that you're kicking around, you also bought a little Christian Dior red belt at Hong Kong, which is so great.
Can you believe?
And Sue's is just like the littlest tiny pinch of red, and it goes a long ways.
It does.
And it works for the interior too.
Yes,
Yeah.
it really, really does. But again, I will say like the blush, I still thought we saw a
You want me
lot
to
of
hold
it.
this up?
Yeah, this is again like a vintage piece, but again, it looks so, I think, current still.
Mm-hmm.
Just the shape, the intentionality of it all is so good in that pink, and the shape, the forms are just interesting.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going out, just like know that for clients, for yourself, just like buy things that are interesting. Don't buy it if it's boring you.
Gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, just still back to all, back to the lavenders, the pinks. We're still seeing that. I think it feels feminine. Let's see.
I also feel like if I'm doing fall market, I'm dressing things for spring, and
Totally.
pastels are
Yeah.
just the ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this made me
Let's go
so
here. Isn't that
happy.
so cute.
So this is, I also believe, Suzanne Kassler, and they did this dining chair with the stripe on a bias. Highland House, excuse
There
me.
you go. Sorry.
This is a French ticking stripe thrown on a bias. So the tailoring on this piece is just all about the way that you throw that fabric on this chair, and you're going to get so many points for this. It almost like is a little bit of an 80s moment because you got that perfect like circular back on the dining chair, and then the diagonal line. Oh, isn't that so good?
Yeah.
Go Highland House. Highland House is really good at fabric. They spend a lot of time trying to keep it interesting. From what I understand in the industry is that fabrics are getting harder and harder and harder to source. Mills are closing down. People want a great price point. They're not wanting to go super high dollars for the COMs and whatnot. So it's getting harder and harder, I feel like, to find interesting fabrics. And so it's one of our sneaky things we like to do is we like to find out who dressed the showroom and be like, tell us about the fabrics. What are we looking at? Who's doing a good job right now? So,
and patterns. I thought
Yeah.
This was a great example.
yeah.
Again, the form of the chair, it feels traditional, but then there's like little things, like the leg is just turned on a 45 instead of straight. So again, the detailing is good. The fabric, like it's flow matched, but flow matching means that when it's being upholstered in a pattern, like the back matches up with the pattern as it turns onto the seat, down onto the front of the cushion, and so forth. And so you just know it's, I don't know, if you're going to do pattern, it's a quality way.
You're going to know if you're dealing with a high-end upholstery piece
you.
if it's flow matched,
Thank you.
right?
Especially because
Thank you.
you
a good
yield
example of
less doing that way. So
You waste so much more fabric getting a perfect flow match.
Boy, is it good. You can see on this like little slipper Louis the 16th frame chair, that pattern,
So
it just
cool.
like carries right down. The pattern picks up right where it left off the cushion to the decking.
Mm.
And it's just so good.
So good.
separates the
I would
men from
say-
the boys right there.
I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So good.
Oh, what else we got? So many things.
Let's talk
you
about
guys.
new tech.
Let's talk about new tech. I
Yeah,
love that.
so we were seeing something at a lot of the different light places where rechargeables are everywhere. They're taking lamps, and particularly baby lamps, the little tiny ones, and they're putting a rechargeable light bulb in them. So you're talking about cordless lamps, which means they can go anywhere. Also cordless sconces, which means all you have to do is just drill the sconce to the wall, get a rechargeable light bulb, pop it in there. You are going to have to take it out and plug it in to charge it, but battery life is about 12 hours on these. So if you're having a party, if you have an old house, wiring's tricky, you can put sconces wherever you want them. You don't have to
That's
call an
crazy.
electrician.
Cool.
Mhm.
And so I feel like it's a land grab right now. You're seeing this everywhere. I've seen people do things on Amazon with less detail, really affordable. The finishes aren't really brass. Visual Comfort is doing a fantastic job at the land grab, and they make the
Let's say
best
the very best.
rechargeable light bulb. It is expensive. What was it, like $86 for the light bulb?
Yeah.
But the way that it sucks down, it's just a magnet down to the thing. And then you just pull it out. It doesn't screw in like a traditional light bulb, and it's really good looking.
And you don't have cables everywhere. It's just,
Oh,
yeah.
I had one of the designers like, so you don't have to like charge the light. Like she's like, I thought that'd be kind of cumbersome if you have to like recharge the whole lamp. And I'm like, no. You just have to take the light bulb out and then you buy a couple extra. You have several of these lamps going, and then you're just like, you're charging your battery for your leaf blower. Same kind of thing.
Yep.
You know, like the old DeWalt. You're just gonna charge all your bulbs, and then you can. Anyway, it's such a great solution. Specifically, I'm so excited for the desk in the office. I'm so excited for
the
that
console
darn
behind
lamp.
a sofa.
The console behind the sofa, just the
Like-
things that are floating that you're just like always trying to like inspect or
damn cord
gadget
to.
it to like be hidden. So anyway, I'm so excited about this. Welcome 2025.
Yeah,
That's our gift.
for sure.
So.
I feel a little bit skeptical about it, but that's just because I think when you want a lamp in the evening and friends are over, if you didn't think to charge it, that's the one time you want to be able to flip that on. You're gonna be like, gah, right? Like hopefully you have multiple bulbs going, but I think it's gonna be a little clumsy getting there.
It will,
and it's just one more detail you're gonna have to remember, or you're gonna mostly. It's like when you go to my brother's house, he always likes to laugh because we do my brother's house. And it's lovely and really well put together, very well appointed. And there's not one light bulb in any of his lamps, and they're not plugged in. He thinks that they're just sculptures on the table. And we're like, no, Nicholas, we plug them in, we put the bulbs in, you turn it on, the house looks like magic in the evening. Not a bulb in a lamp. Yeah.
Is he turning on the big light? Is that what he's?
He must.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't live with him.
Looking terrible.
But I
that big
don't
light.
know. Here's where I love the rechargeable lamp in my very practical head. I love it in the center of my dining table. I think that for a restaurant story, having a little bit of low light is so fun. Corey and I developed a lamp that should be launching probably Q1. That's a really beautiful lamp, and it sits in the middle of my table. I have the prototype there. It's been there for a couple months, and everybody comments on it. It does plug in, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could cut the cord on this and put a rechargeable light bulb in it.
Yeah.
That's the only time I want it. Also, I've seen one influencer have 2 little lamps on her mantle on both sides. I think during the holidays, that's so cute. And having rechargeable bulbs for that, and not having to deal with cords and garlands and Christmas lights and everything else, that makes sense. Those are the only 2 cases I can give for having to recharge a bulb every 12 hours, guys. Every 12 hours.
Yeah.
For how long you're going to
12
have
hours
it
of
on.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
If you did.
So maybe it's 4 hours in the evening when friends are over.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
And then if you know you're having people come over, you just put the new bulbs in because you know those are going to last all night. But
It's a great idea. I wish I had thought of it. I think it's a genius idea. I'm just trying to make a case for, does all of the lamps in the house need to be this way? Do all the sconces? I don't know. Sue, what's your exception to the rule? What do you love it for?
That office, this is the floating desk in the middle of an office. You have a lamp, and you either have to like have a cord that everyone's going to be tripping on to go like plug into the wall, or you have to like do a little bullet hole inside your hand knotted rug, surge that, sweep it underneath and charge it. So I'm just like the desk, like Oscar award winning like situation right now.
I don't think that they're working on task lamps, but
well, not even task lamps, but
we should do a land grab for the task lamp.
Yeah.
That's cordless because they're only working on their baby lamps. I feel like right now, when we went into Visual Comfort, walked it was baby lamps, they're rechargeable, and a few sconces. That's it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even just like think of Jamie O'Banion, just like I know that was a big lamp, but just like a lamp. Either way, I'm excited about the prospect of not having to like figure that out. Calculus of a problem out.
Yeah, one day they're going to work all like the kinks out of that, and it's going to be everything.
Yeah,
it's going to be a light bulb for 100 hours or something like that. Totally genius idea. I think that's one thing that we'll continue to see as we go to market. I think you'll see rechargeables in every lighting store, and I think you'll see the categories grow. By the time spring market rolls around, you're going to see them double, I'm sure, at Visual.
I will say Visual also did like a great job on their actual cans and just like their art spots and like all the
do
lighting
speak
that
to
they're
that.
doing.
Yeah.
So like when we're doing a lighting plan, like you have like your decorative lighting, your ceiling fixtures, your sconces, but then we need like in the kitchens, we need cans, we need art spots for, if we aren't doing like actual art lights on the wall, all those things. They've developed a can system basically,
Tech.
where all this tech, where it's just a really, really beautiful. You do not see any of the light source, but you see a glow happening from
the trim kits.
You don't see
are
the trim
just
kits
like
are completely
Crazy.
like flush and recessed, but it's not like the flat LED ones that we're seeing in some homes.
They
They're just like, doing a
come-
beautiful
you can
job.
get them in square or circle, and the trims, you can get the interiors. I think you can get them silver or paint, or you can paint them out.
Yeah.
But the light itself is so beautiful. So like Suze was saying, you can have them, and they even are tilted slightly, so it's going to shine art. A can in your ceiling it's not that old fashioned light bulb
It's not the
or
old
eyeball. Remember the
Yeah.
old eyeball?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all happening up inside the ceiling, and it can tilt to shine on your art. Perfectly illuminated, no art light. You don't know where this thing's coming from. It's just like museum tech.
That's crazy.
Beautiful.
Really, really beautiful.
So you can do all your cans now, and they have so many different extraordinary examples. And you stand back in the room and you can't tell.
Like you can't see it on the ceiling.
Well, like one thing that I'm sure,
but you just can't see like any like light source or anything. I don't know. There's just like sometimes when you get all these cans, right? They call it the acne of the ceiling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's just so many of them, and it's just like such a clean
just
look.
goes
It's kinda
away.
like a tape in, but better.
Especially if
Yeah.
you could paint it. I mean, that's
yeah,
that's
it's-
crazy.
It
So
is.
I'm excited for that like portion and like their services too of like helping us figure out the exact, because that's I think the hard part for a lot of people.
Well,
is
I'll
just
say
understanding
every
the
designer
engineering of it.
listening, whenever we shoot a house, you always take all the cans out of the ceiling and
You're
post.
photoshopping
Yeah.
them out.
Yeah. Because otherwise it is this acne of the ceiling.
that's all you
So
can see.
these ceilings are just so beautiful. This can sizes are so small. You can't see a ring. It's really amazing. It was a
Yeah.
genius idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, tech.
Super
I would say
smart.
the other thing that's not really techie, but motion in furniture continues to be a growing category.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a swivel chair, a rocking, a gliding,
We're all really
recliners.
nervous.
Guys,
We just were always,
RH.
like pacing.
Yeah,
What's next you're gonna be?
we just saw RH come out with recliners. It is the one battle that we fight continuously on every project, is that the husband wants some sort of reclining sofa, or a recliner that's a sofa, an end of the sofa or whatnot. And so you're starting to see more and more answers to that, which is great. I think kind of in the tech sort of field is being able to have more motion. Just
That's cool
to help
that
people be
bigger-
comfortable.
Like bigger players are doing it too, because then it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like the
The
silhouettes are going to
mechanisms
be
will be
better.
better,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
everything.
mechanisms are better.
Mhm.
The fabric that's being put on them is
Yeah.
better.
Totally.
Fills are better.
Exactly.
Speaking of RH and tradition, we have a friend who we won't name, but he is a designer for quite a few furniture lines, and had a meeting with RH probably about a year ago, and he's been showing them block and taper legs. So he's been preaching tradition to them for a little while, that we've got to get back to it. And so I think you'll start to see a return to tradition in even those big catalogs stores. So I don't know. We'll see. It definitely, our eyes were like, wow. Yeah, it is everywhere.
I mean, it
There's a lot
does-
of resources for it.
The pendulum
Honestly,
has
I was
swung.
thinking exactly that as we were like looking through these. I'm like, man, everything feels so fresh in these photos, because you're just so used to like the, like contemporary California type of like
Yeah.
everyone is doing.
Yes.
I don't even need to name names, because everyone
Yeah.
is doing it. And it's like, man, like that, everything that you guys showed is just a breath of fresh air. So
know.
yeah, to hear that, like,
It's like fine furniture again. There's been a lot of examples of like really casual, I don't know,
California.
yeah, it doesn't look like it was well made. And these are like real fine furniture makers just making furniture in a beautiful traditional way. And the finishes can kind of sway, to more casual. This is a favorite dining chair of ours. This is called the Vase chair. And this is at Highland House, and it's based off of an antique, and it's stunning. And you can make this go any direction. You could get really glossy with the frame. This is done in a white oak, so it's more casual. So you really can, these frames are just so interchangeable depending on how you dress them. And that's the fun that the designer gets to have, or, the design enthusiast listening to this, is that you can really make these things go a lot of different directions. So,
And I will say, even to like your base layer, if like you're like, gosh, I just like leapt into that whole like just like organic modern movement, whatever, this stuff like will pare away, pull a couple of the things away, and get a couple more ornate pieces and start the mix, because that's where it gets magical.
yeah.
So
Totally.
To throw everything out with the bathwater, keep the pieces that are comfortable that you still love, but then start to infuse some of this like heirloom quality in your home. And I think you definitely elevate your look. You elevate as far as just like your perspective. I think it's a more global perspective too, which I think is just such a beautiful look. So it'll take some like research on your account to see what demographic and what like land and period do I like, but you'll be able to find it because, you know, whether you're on First Dibs, Cherish, antiquing, thrifting, looking, you know, at some of these, like everyone's going to start to introduce it and you'll be able to find it, which is really, really exciting. You're going to see color more. You're going to see pattern more. So lean in.
It feels like more detail too. You know what I mean?
Gosh, it's harder.
Which feels more thought out and, you know.
Designers have to design. They have to know what they're doing to like be good with color. They have to know how to deal with pattern on pattern because this is an influx that you will see through your clients are going to start requesting it and you're going to want to do it. And so really pay attention on like how that is done correctly because there is a way to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And beautifully.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cheers to that. Well, guys, that is our market recap. I hope that was fun for you. It was so fun for us.
Yeah.
Sue, any colors that stand out to you as far as, I know that's a question that people always want to know from Runway, from High Point, what colors are we going to be seeing people starting to use or what continues to be winners as far as color feels like it's the new trend. I feel like in the shelter magazines are just like color. It's all about color right now. Yeah.
I also say kind of that analogous scheme, kind of like we saw with Suzanne Katzer of just like that triple. So if you are a pink to terracotta red girl, I still think just like leaning into that heart. Again, I think we saw like a lot of pinks like into the reds, like pinks to earthy tones
kind
to
of
reds.
A color drench.
Still some warmth.
Yeah.
I was like, even like before we like went to our first showroom at market, I'm like, I wonder, we've been in a warm station for such a long time. I wonder if we're going to start to see new interpretations of blue and start to feel that. And I took a lot of pictures of frames that were like bringing the blues back. And again, it's forecasting spring. So that's a fresh color. So I think we are going to start seeing that. I think green will still be making a big hit. I still think the yellow and ochre colors, the goldenrods, I still think that those are happy sunshiny colors that go with some of these other ones. And so, greens, yellows, reds, which again, were what we like highlighted in last fall at that recap.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of green come in. We saw a lot of yellow. And so I still feel like we're feeling that. And so it'll be interesting to see like how the pendulum swings if we start to lean back to blues.
I know
really interesting.
It's funny because like they'll show you stuff at High Point, but it really just depends on the client and what they want and what they love. You're playing to them. Yeah, exactly. As far as metals go, I know we've been saying silver's coming for so long. It's weird. I feel like brass is still holding so strong. I don't know if it's my like younger me that remembers silver being only the thing and then like gold became the thing, but there's still a really great, big, huge place for brass and gold finishes, even though the fashion market continues to say that silver's king.
I want to say, I'm just like, when you think about the 80s, you saw like, it was like that shiny gold.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was shiny gold. And I think that was like, there was anarchy to that. Like in the 90s, you started to see like the silvers come back in a big way because it wasn't heirloom. And I think the gold that we've been seeing for so long is the antique golds, is the more burnished golds that do have longevity and like they feel classic. So I think that's why we're holding on to them longer.
Yeah.
And so I do think the mix is good. I don't think there's a house that we do that only has one.
Yeah.
We love a polished nickel. We love a gilded brass, like period, hands down.
Yeah.
Maybe everything, I mean, from what we've been talking about, everything's kind of just swinging to like the right way to do things.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean,
and figuring out your mix, like being personal about it, like knowing when you want to refresh and like knowing what that looks like for you. I think the personalization of everything, I think, is still like on high alert. So, which is very, very exciting as a designer. And I specifically as a firm that we both believe in this, is that you design for the human, you figure out the human and you design for their life experience and like what they want to reflect. And so like no better time than, seeing what's available in the marketplace than to do that very thing for yourself and for your clients.
Cheers.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Mic drop.
Guys, thank you for listening to Dear Alice. If you have any episode ideas for us, please send them to dearalice@alicelanehome.com. And if you don't mind taking a moment to rate and review us, that helps other people find our podcast so we can continue to grow. We appreciate you listening. And right now we have holiday going on online. Gifts are going to ship by the, you can still get gifts shipped to you. For 3 days. By 12:15, the postage people just can't guarantee that they can get it all the way on whatever side of the United States that you are. You can gamble with it if you're close to Utah. But yeah, they say that we can't guarantee you getting gifts past the 15th. So jump online. We have a lot of really great gift guides there. And there's always a Dear Alice code. So you can always use Dear Alice.
20.
Dear Alice 20 for 20% off at checkout. Yes. And you guys, we're going to catch you next time. Thanks so much. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like our show, please leave a 5-star rating.